This man, along with the great Adam Schefter, was the one who broke the story yesterday that Tyron Smith was significantly injured. Now we know it is going to keep the left tackle, anchor of the makeshift changing Dallas Cowboys offensive line out for potentially the entire 2022 season. On the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line from ESPN is Todd Archer. How are you doing, Todd?
Rich, how are you?
I'm doing well. Walk me through what's going on with Tyron Smith, sir, please.
Suffered a torn hamstring off the bone in practice last night. MRI. First got some good news. MRI, hey, the ACL's intact. Because when you went down and you saw the video on Twitter, it's like, ooh, that doesn't look good. But then later on, you get more word, and it's the torn hamstring. He could have surgery as early as today. Meeting with Cowboys doctors, might seek a second opinion as well. But just talked with Jerry Jones after his appearance on First Take, and he said the battle cry now is to get this taken care of, and we'll be that much stronger when Tyron comes back at the end of the season when the Cowboys are getting ready for a playoff run. So clearly, Jerry still has the optimism that even losing your 8-time Pro Bowl left tackle and replacing him with a guy that's never played left tackle potentially on your roster is still going to be all well and good for the Dallas Football Cowboys.
Well, what do you think, Todd? What do you think? Is it just Jerry putting the smiley face on and spinning things? What do you think, Todd?
Well, that's what he always does, right?
Yep.
As you know. But I do think there's an element of the people at the Cowboys that say, we've played a lot of games without Tyron Smith here lately, and if you look at it, they're 17-16 without him in his time here with the Cowboys. Now, the stats tell some different stories of how effective Zeke is, how effective Dak is when he's in and not in. But they did draft Tyler Smith in the first round to be the left tackle of the future. The future just might now be September 11th against the Buccaneers, and see how that works. But it was interesting that Mike McCarthy, when we talked to him yesterday, was saying, if the starting left guard, right, if we had to play a game today, starting left guard would be Connor McGovern, not Tyler Smith. And Tyler still has a lot of room to learn and grow. You don't just put rookies out there. Well, now you might need to put him out there at left tackle. It's not the best way for the Cowboys to start the season.
I mean, that's it, Todd. I mean, I guess the best laid plans, the plan was to get this kid up to speed whenever they felt comfortable putting him out there. And the idea that so many people were saying on draft night is he's not going to be able to play in this league without considerable seasoning. And now, one day after the coach is saying, we don't even know if we could hide him at the guard position, which is kind of the phrase that you hear when a kid is not ready to be put out on the edge. That says everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, and look, the other options aren't great either in terms of what they have in-house. Josh Ball was a fourth-round pick a year ago, didn't play a snap because of an ankle injury, spent the year on injured reserve. He's filled in for Tyron Smith here in the preseason when Tyron's not played in the preseason games, when they've worked him in and out of the first-team group. I guess he's been okay, but, again, never played in a game. Matt Waletzko is a fifth-round pick this year, only returned to practice after missing about 3.5 weeks with a shoulder injury. He played at North Dakota. So you go from starting tackle at North Dakota to starting tackle for the Cowboys, having to block the Buccaneers front. That's quite a leap. Avante Collins is the guy who spent last year on the practice squad. He started one game in his career. I asked Jerry, do you go look for outside help? And he's like, we're going through all that, but I really don't want to comment on it. Again, right now, what are the options that are available that are even more palatable than what you have? And I guess the name at the top of the list will be Eric Fisher, who played last year in Indianapolis, obviously had a long career with the Chiefs, helped them get to the Super Bowl, but tore his Achilles before they won the game. He'd probably be the highest name recognition guy out there. But, again, what's he been doing since last season? Is he in shape? Is he ready to go? So there's a lot of questions the Cowboys will have to answer and how they want to attack this.
Yeah, our friend down in Houston, right? John McClain tweeted out they should trade for Tunsil. That's what he just tweeted out. I mean, is there anybody available like of that name, of that ilk?
Well, Isaiah Wynn in New England's a name that has been bandied about as he could be on the trade market. Now he's supposed to make $10.4 million this year, and it's yes, the Cowboys have $21 million in cap room right now, but a good portion of that was being allocated to their practice squad and in-season call-ups and all that. So they might have to do some salary cap maneuverings to get an Isaiah Wynn or I can't imagine them making a huge play for a guy like Laramie Tunsil, especially if they believe Tyron Smith is going to be back in December. But all options have to be on the table if you're the Cowboys and if you're Jerry Jones, because, look, we know he believes they have a team that can win. So now you go out and prove it. This is why you say player acquisition is 365 days a year, 7 days a week. Well, and you've kept your powder dry, to steal a Jerry term. Now they can go out and either get the best guy or get something much better than what they have in-house.
ESPN NFL Nation Dallas Cowboys reporter Todd Archer here on the Rich Eisen Show. What is the current status of the wide receiver room? Walk me through that right now, Todd.
CeeDee Lamb and the rest is basically what it is. Again, the only other guy that's caught a pass from Dak Prescott in a regular season game right now is Noah Brown, and I don't think he has 40 catches in his first 5 seasons in the league. So they're banking on Michael Gallup not being ready to play the opener. The good news there is they've not put him on PUP. Jerry told us yesterday they don't expect him to open the year on PUP, so he will be back sometime in September and not miss the first 4 games after tearing that ACL last January, had the surgery in February. So, but again, here's a guy that's been rehabbing the knee. How much can you expect from him when he's just coming off that injury to contribute and play so much right away? Seems like that would be an issue. They like Jalen Tolbert, their 3rd-round pick. Noah Brown has had a good camp. Simi Fehoko, a draft pick last year, didn't catch a pass. He's had some good moments. So if you're a fantasy football person out there, draft Dalton Schultz, because he's going to catch about 100 balls this year. Might be for about 8 yards a catch, but he's going to be a big factor in this passing game.
And what about the running game? I mean, Pollard is such a home run hitter. I've been talking about Tony Pollard for 2 years now, thinking he's not on the field enough. And of course, I receive feedback on that I'm a Zeke hater because I'm a Michigan man. That's not true at all. I mean, it keeps Zeke healthy. It keeps him ready to be the guy in December and January with Pollard out there as well. What is the plan in the running back position for this offense again now that Tyron Smith is going to be out for the foreseeable future? Todd Archer.
Right, they were going to lean on the running game regardless, and I don't think that really changes. In fact, it might be more on the running game in some respect if they can, and if they can solve that left tackle spot. But Zeke is still the team's number 1 ball carrier, and he'll remain so. I don't believe it'll be anywhere near a 50-50 split, maybe 60-40, somewhere along those lines. But I do think you'll see Tony Pollard mixed in more together with Zeke out there, maybe even some at receiver. He's a guy that, you said it, he's dynamic when he gets the ball in his hand. I can still picture him running away from everybody in New Orleans late in the year inside the Superdome for a touchdown. They're committed to get him the ball as much as they can. It might not be in carries because that'll be Zeke's domain, and especially down in the red zone and down by the goal line. Zeke still had 10 touchdowns rushing last year, so he's still effective. Zeke is a guy, Rich, that he's had a tremendous summer. He looks great. And if you go back to the first 5 games last year, really, before the injury, he was on pace for a 1,500-yard season. So the Cowboys believe that Zeke is, if he can stay healthy, and it's always an if for everybody, that Zeke can still be an elite back. But you'll see a lot of Tony Pollard out there this year.
Todd Archer here on the Rich Eisen Show. So give me the bright spot. What's the bright spot for the Dallas Cowboys over the last several weeks? Oxnard, preseason games. What are they talking about how 2020 is going to be better than people think right now?
Well, clearly the Tyron Smith news puts a damper on everything to a degree because of all the stuff we've just talked about. But the less talked about subject of this team, it's just how good the defense is going to be, in my opinion. Micah Parsons, 2nd year. Trayvon Diggs coming off an all-pro season with 11 interceptions. Dan Quinn, knowing what he has, those guys knowing Dan Quinn, you've really seen a team that its identity has kind of changed from, hey, the Cowboys are all about their offense, right? Go Romo, Witten, Dez, DeMarco Murray, even through the Dak era, where now you're talking about a team that is going to be built in some ways on its defense. with Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Trayvon Diggs, Jaron Kearse. There's a lot of pieces on this defense that Dan Quinn has at his disposal that I think will make them better than they were a year ago, even if they don't get as many takeaways. So the season's not over. Jerry said, hey, we're still going to line them up and play. We'll be out there. I think how they get it done is going to be different, and a big part of that is going to be a defense that will be better than it was a year ago when it surprised a lot of people.
And I guess then what is the hole that Tyron Smith leaves outside of just playing football? I mean, how significant is that, based you can tell?
I mean, you have a $40 million quarterback. It's awful nice to look over and see number 77 out there as the protector of the blind side. Again, they've gotten used to life without him, perhaps too much, and this might be his final year with the Cowboys because of all the injuries and age and everything catching up to him. But he is a staple guy in that locker room, a guy that's very quiet, and when he does talk to the offensive linemen, they'll listen to what he says. But this is the only loss that in my mind that could be bigger than losing Tyron Smith would be losing Dak Prescott for an extended period of time. And we saw what happened to the Cowboys in 2020 when he went down with that ankle injury.
All right, so last one for you. I will give you the floor on the story that everybody is assuming will be under the surface the entire season, and that is Mike McCarthy coaching for his job. Is he, do you think, this year, Todd?
Yes, I do think that's the case. We saw Jerry Jones be a decade-long patient with Jason Garrett. Mm-hmm. So maybe, you always have to remember that out there. Always remember that Jerry said one of his biggest regrets is only giving Chan Gailey 2 years. But I do think, for a variety of reasons, that he is coaching for his future. And the Sean Payton shadow will linger over this team. But, Rich, I don't think Sean Payton will be this team's head coach in 2023.
Why?
I believe it will be somebody else. Could be Dan Quinn. Could be Kellen Moore. Could be someone we're not even thinking of. But I don't think it'll be Sean Payton. But that shadow, every week when they lose or if there's a coaching decision that goes wrong, everybody is going to try and tie Sean back to the Cowboys because of the relationship he's had with Jerry, being a former assistant, all that stuff. So, but the good part from my perspective on Mike McCarthy is how he's just kind of said, hey, I don't care about this stuff.
Right.
I can't control it. Have fun with your narratives. I'm just going to coach my team. And he seems like a much more relaxed coach this year than he has in his previous couple seasons.
Yeah,
here.
I spoke to him after the draft, and that was right in the moment where, everyone was really wondering, or was it maybe before the draft, I think. Yeah. It was after the Combine. That's what it was. It was after the Combine, and after he made those comments Jerry did that was on DallasCowboys.com talking about how so many assistants don't take jobs elsewhere as head coaches because they know they've got a great shot to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, right, eventually. And so he did sound totally at peace, if you will, with that, although a little bit disturbed in how he had to talk to Dan Quinn saying, hey, man, don't leave just because you think it would be awkward if you stay. And so put that all together. Why don't you, though, think that Sean Payton would be the guy? Why are you so, I guess, decisive?
I think that was something that maybe a couple, 3-4 years ago almost came to fruition when Jason Garrett was the coach. But I just think too much time has passed, and the money that Sean may or may not want might be out of Jerry's realm of what he wants to pay coaches. Remember, he's the guy that said, I can get 500 coaches in here to win a Super Bowl back in the Jimmy Johnson time. And, if Sean wants to have full and final say, that's never happening here, despite the head coach having an awful lot of influence. He still wouldn't get everything he wants. I just don't. I think it's all of us trying to put 2 and 2 together, and it may equal 4. But I think for the Cowboys, for people that have talked with Jerry, I just think it's something that is kind of past it's overdue. It's not going to happen now.
Todd Archer, thanks for the call, sir. Really appreciate your work and your time here. Let's do this again soon. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Rich. I really appreciate it.
You got it. That's Todd Archer of ESPN covering the Cowboys for them.